money for it, and my people don't know how to use it. If I could only get rid of the parts of the software I don't need, so my people can concentrate on what they need to do. Next slide, please. This is what free software allows you to do. To tailor the software to your needs, and so it fills the hole. And you have control over that. Next slide, please. The blue in the hole represents the gap between what the software you have does and what you need as your problem. And that problem may be that the software you bought does not support the language you speak. Now, how many of you speak English as a first language? Oh, geez, I thought everybody spoke English as a first language. How many of you speak Spanish as a first language? That's great. Microsoft supports 50 different languages with their products. The problem is, there's 8,000 different languages in the world. Now, here in Colombia, Spanish is the predominant language. But you have 60 different Indian tribes who speak a native language that they would like to have their software talk to them in their language. In India, there's 2 different scripted languages, 11 different official languages, and 5,000 unofficial languages. So which software product is going to support all of them? Until recently, the Swahili people in Africa had no word processor that they could use in Swahili. But with OpenOffice, they were able to translate Swahili, not just one version of Swahili, but all 4 dialects of Swahili. It was their choice. You may find out that the blue is because these different software products you're buying do not integrate properly. Or that you're using older hardware and that the software you purchase doesn't run on that hardware. Or the software you need, you cannot afford. All these things mean you cannot do something, and that's your problem. Next slide, please. There was a large company in Redmond, Washington, which produced the software, and they keep talking about the total cost of ownership of their software versus free software. And they say their software is less money to use than free software. Most of the time, the studies are so close, you can't really tell. But it doesn't make any difference. It is not the cost of the software, but it is the value of the software that's important. Uh-oh, we got on the wrong slide there. Can we go back a slide? Okay. Let me give you an example of the difference between cost and value. I go down to the store, I buy a CD, I pay 5 pesos for it, cheap CD. I take it home, I put it, install it on my system. It takes me an hour of my time. The total cost of ownership is 5 pesos and an hour of my time. I start up the software, it does absolutely nothing. The total value of that software is 0. I go to the same store, I buy another CD, I pay 5 pesos. I install it, it takes an hour of my time. But when I start the software up, all of a sudden my dog can let itself in and out of the house. My wife comes home, kisses me on the cheek, goes into the kitchen, makes a wonderful dinner, and he takes me upstairs, and we make love the entire night. Let me tell you, at the age of 57, that alone is a miracle. My children come home from school for the first time. They've gotten straight A's, and the tax collector calls me up and says, "We found a mistake in your taxes, and we owe you $200,000." And all of it because of the software on that CD. That software is infinitely valuable to me, and I do not care that I paid 5 pesos and an hour of my time. Yes, total cost of ownership is important, because if you cannot afford the solution, then obviously you can't have it. But once you get past that point, it should be the value of the software you look at, and not the cost. Next slide, please. Finally, people don't really want products. They want service. If I lived in New York City, I would not even think about buying a car, because what I really want is transportation. I want to walk outside of my house. I want a car to be sitting there with a driver in it. I want to sit in the back seat of the car, read my book. I want the car to drive me downtown and leave me off right in front of the building I want to go to. And when I come out, I want the car to be there and drive me home. But own the car? No, not in New York City. I like going out to restaurants. I don't like to cook. Some people do. I don't. I particularly do not like washing dishes. I like the service of having food put in front of me, and somebody else cooks it and washes the dishes. This is service, and most people want service instead of products. In fact, some of the largest corporations in the world are service providers. And a lot of people think service, that isn't a great job, because they think of a lot of service that doesn't take much talent or much education. But I think of service like a brain surgeon. A brain surgeon does not create a product. You do not end up with a second brain when they get finished. And yet a brain surgeon makes a lot of money at what they do. How many of you would go out if you needed brain surgery and look for a brain surgeon who advertised, "I do brain surgery cheap"? How many of you look for the cheapest brain surgeon you could find? Maybe the brain surgeon that didn't really graduate from college? Will they use last year's x-ray machine? Of course you wouldn't do that, because your brain is very important to you. A lot of times, to a business person, their business is more important than their brain. Just ask any business person. "Oh yeah, take my brain, but leave my business." Lawyers are another example. God knows lawyers don't produce anything. But they have service, and a highly paid service, because you respect their knowledge and their skill, and you get the best one you can get to help you out when you need it. That's what a software person is. A highly trained, highly skilled person.